Hello, party people. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if the audio is good. I am now on a brand new laptop. So it's you know, I don't know how the sound is. I don't know, you know, all the rest of it, if it's actually sounding okay. So you know, bear with me while we get everything sorted out. You guys should know that Randall 419, the man with a million, we were planning on doing a show this week as usual, but unfortunately, Chicago has been hit by a tornado and Rand has no electricity. So, you know, that's why we don't have any Rand today. But maybe me and Rand can get a regular show on the go on maybe Monday or something like that. We'll see how it goes, right? But yes, I see all you guys. Captain Chats. We've got Zach Riley. Shout out to you. Fuck you. How you doing, buddy? Coffee Jesus and all the rest of the regulars, nerds and other legends. Appreciate you all. So Riffs a Lot says, Jez, you should be streaming Ocarina to celebrate the announcement. I will be buying Ocarina remake, remaster, or whatever they're calling it. I think it looks pretty damn good. Polish Kraken with the $11 Canadian. Thank you very much. Hope you had fun in the United States. Amazing Xbox Showcase, and also Asha is a bae. Indeed, it was a good show. It was a very good show. And thanks so much for that. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind ride, man. It's been tough, you know. It's the first time it's the first time I think I've been to Summer Game Fest like completely by myself. Usually when I've been there, I've been there with the team or whatever, you know, but this year I was completely solo, so that was kind of intriguing. I played a ton of games, checked out a ton of games that are in development and in, you know, are still being developed and that kind of thing. So I'll talk about some of that in a bit. But I think probably the thing that we should probably talk about off the bat, we had some breaking news right before the show started. But before we get into that, also thanks FarQ, thank you so much for joining the T Fund. I appreciate that. I forgot I had memberships turned on, to be honest. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Nine Lives says with 2, Jeff is a horrible person for what he did to you. I spoke to Jeff when that all went down. He didn't mean it that way. It's an awful and unflattering picture, but it's also what I look like, right? So like he took the picture and he didn't think anything of it. Because he's not that way inclined. But, you know, I've got weight to lose and I've lost it before and I'll lose it again, you know. I've already lost 60 pounds over the last year, or well, maybe 50, 55-ish pounds, something like that. I got a lot of work to do, man. I want to lose another 100 pounds at the very least. And it's going well so far. I had a ton of fruit and veg today and that kind of thing. But, you know, like I say, I've lost it before, I've gained it back, I'll lose it again and gain it back, you know. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. And I don't want to pay for Ozempic and the recurring costs. I don't have any problem with that, by the way. You know, losing weight is pretty hard, but I just don't like the idea of having to pay for Ozempic forever. So I think it's better that it's like I lose the weight by myself somehow, you know, or overcome whatever's making me want to eat all the time. I don't know. But yeah, that's it is what it is, man. It is what it is. FarQ says, are you PG or Yorkshire, Jez? You know the right answer. I'm Yorkshire, man. I'm Yorkshire, buddy. I don't know if that's the right answer, but Yorkshire is just always what my family's bought, man. We're talking about tea right now. Coda Games with the 4.99 US says, Jez, so you're telling us ABK had the opposite effect on Xbox. Seems like ABK is carrying their own and then some. Yeah, it's true. Like, ABK has been the driving force behind Microsoft's accountability margin for Xbox. But also Game Pass has been. And that goes against the popular narrative, but Game Pass was 5 billion in revenue in 2025, I want to say. And Phil was on the record of saying that 5 billion in revenue. For reference, Activision itself was only like 8 billion in revenue when they bought it. So, like, you know, Game Pass has also been like a huge driver of that stuff. But it's just like Call of Duty and Game Pass kind of like they interfered with each other too much and kind of cannibalized each other too much because both of them were so big. So, but it's one of the levers Microsoft pulled to try and hit this accountability margin too quickly. You know, if you look at Xbox's, I think Microsoft said like fiscal 2025 was Xbox's most profitable year ever in its history. So, you know, it's not like things were, I don't know, things were going terribly. It's just sort of like a string of games that didn't do well hurt the margin, and then memory suddenly costing 700% more in the space of a year, because that's not just selling consoles, that's also like supply chains, your server pipelines, and then you've got the tariffs popping off, and you've got inflation and all these other factors, and also like attention spans. Like, people are playing less, and there's competition from other kind of markets. There's all these problems have coalesced at a sort of a difficult time. And I suppose like when you are a business that's so big, you can swing very quickly from being massively profitable to massively unprofitable very, very quickly, you know. So yeah, it's tough, and we're going to get into all that in a minute. But first things first, I want to mention that this week's podcast is once again sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So a huge thank you to Surfshark for VPN for continuing to support us. If you check out the link in the description, you can get 86% off a 2-year plan for Surfshark VPN, unlimited devices, RAM-based servers, and all the rest of it. And it works out to around $2 a month. It supports us, supports yourself with great privacy and all that kind of thing. So definitely check out the sponsor. Also, we've got the Patreon VIPs, which I'm just going to quickly pull out the list here. Like I say, me and Rand are planning to do a regular show next week, but I just want to shout out Adam Bartolo, Aloran Grogu, Asa T and Madison, Battered Haddock, Benny, Briggs Country, Bright Tundra 1, Silas, Deku 2511, Discarded Caboose, NX, Fantasticals, Glenn, Governor Grimm, I Mike Zero, Inner Machine, Jay Foley, James Moore, James Wezo, Justin Duell, Just James 93, K-Trox, Lazar Wolf, Murray, Pat Rock, Frosty, Randolph Thor 19, RS Dong, Sean Kramer, Shay Elephant, Shrapnel, The Nordic Cannon, Tricks Off a Tray, Vito, Chiara Monte, William Kane, Woggerman, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thanks to you guys very much for your support. So we'll get into some topics in a moment. We've got some more super chats. Thank you guys. US CG Partlow with the 5 says, Have you asked Xbox why none of their PC ports support split screen? It seems to be related to multiple accounts, but it is dumb. It sucks for Halo. I've never considered that because I've never really played split screen, but it is these are issues they're gonna have to solve if they're gonna go harder in PC, right? Like one of the things I keep thinking about is right now we get dual license entitlement on Xbox games, where we can have like an offline version and an online version, so you can like share your games and do the account sharing thing and that kind of stuff. But on PC, it's kind of like, you know, I want my Xbox Ally to be my offline Windows PC, because that's the device I'll take on the plane and stuff like that, right? Where I don't have Wi-Fi. But you know, what if then I need to use my work laptop offline for some reason and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of like weird idiosyncrasies, not just like with split screen, but account entitlements and that kind of stuff, which Microsoft's going to have to work through as they get deeper into PC. But I suppose they'll solve those problems as and when it comes to it. Cody Bishop with the $5. Thank you very much. I was £360 and a Zempic Manjaro saved my life. Cuts the food noise, cuts the binging. Food stopped being on my mind 24/7. One shot per week now, $250. Well, congratulations for that, dude. You know, I do have a lot of friends who've tried Monjaro and Ozempic and stuff like that. Like I say, I've got nothing against it. You know, and maybe it's something that I consider down the line. But I think I kind of like, I just really want to be able to at least prove to myself that I can do it myself first. So maybe like I'll lose £100 by myself just to prove that I can still do it. And then maybe I'll go on it afterwards or something, you know, so, but like, one of the things that, you know, I do wonder about Ozempic and that kind of thing is, it's just sort of like, if you stop taking it, like, do you end up just putting the weight back on, that kind of thing? I kind of want to solve the underlying problem first, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, man. People are asking where Rand is. Rand is in Chicago, and Chicago's been hit by a huge storm / hurricane going on right now, so Rand has no electricity. So that's where Rand is right now. But hopefully we'll get Rand on Monday and that kind of thing. Littlest tool shed with the $2 Canadian. Do you think Latitude Vibes made games underperform? I don't think so. We'll talk about what happened with the games in a bit, but I think with a lot of the games, they just weren't really what the market wanted, you know? So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of the things like I've been thinking about a lot since the Xbox Showcase and Summer Game Fest and that kind of thing. I really wanted to know, like, are these people really in it for the long haul? And is Satya actually going to like give them the runway in order to do it? And one of the things that just emerged, I wrote an article about it the other day, you know, and it really did seem to me like, yeah, these guys are absolutely serious about this, you know. They put together a big team and all that kind of stuff. So, and you know, like one of the execs I spoke to at Summer Game Fest was saying like they wouldn't have come on board if they didn't believe in the plan and didn't believe that there was truly this big runway, right? So one of the things like we keep hearing from Asha is like tough decisions are coming, right? Tough decisions are coming, and people have took that to mean layoffs, right? People have took that to mean layoffs, but the information reported today in a big report via a $300 paywall, which I think most of us are not going to pay for. They shared that they've got sourcing that suggests Microsoft has been considering restructuring Xbox, and one of those considerations has been spinning Xbox out into a separate platform, and also either setting it up as a joint venture as well. So that's something else that could happen. And I will say, for my money, this is something I've been hearing as well. But I think I personally don't think the spinning it off thing is what they're considering here. One of the things the information says is they've looked to LinkedIn and GitHub as a model that Xbox can follow. And if you guys don't know, Microsoft owns LinkedIn and they also own GitHub, but they are operated as sort of subsidiary entities. They have a lot of autonomy. And LinkedIn in particular has been monstrously successful as a subsidiary, kind of operating as a sort of, I don't know, basically an autonomous entity within the Microsoft ecosystem. So I think potentially if that is something that they're looking at for Xbox, if this information is indeed true, I think that could be a good thing for Xbox. It would give Asha a lot more autonomy potentially, and not have to go to Satya and Amy to get things approved, and make a business case. It would make things move faster, It would make things move a lot faster potentially, right? I don't like the idea of them fully spinning out Xbox, because I think that will be a nightmarish scenario in a universe where Xbox is so intrinsically linked to Microsoft systems. We're going to be spending they'll spend years and millions of dollars untangling all that stuff, right? I don't like that idea. So, I don't know. Joaquin is saying the rumor is a joint venture with Netflix. I mean, I don't like it, man. I don't like that idea. The whole old subsidiary thing, I think, is the most compelling for me. But I don't know. I think we'll probably find out sooner rather than later. But when Asha's talking about tough decisions, I'm increasingly thinking this is what she's talking about. She's not necessarily talking about layoffs, which, let's be real, there's probably layoffs coming. I think she's talking about literally restructuring Xbox all up as a separate entity, to some degree. I don't know. I don't know, man. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would have thought Asha's career trajectory would have been bring Xbox back to, huge margins, and then maybe even become the CEO of Microsoft down the line, because she's still young. She's still got decades ahead of her as potentially as a career within Microsoft. And if she lands all this stuff with Xbox, Satya's chair could eventually, pull into view for her, but I don't know. Mm. But yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look at some of these super chats then. We've got First N15th 2 with a $2 US. Thank you very much. Gamers wanted IPs like at the showcase, not double A's. I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit. Luso Gamer with the €5 says, "Hi JEZ, love the pod. I've always struggled with being obese, and bariatric surgery saved my life. Have you ever considered it?" I have considered it. It's difficult to get for free in the UK. It's a process. It is something I'd consider. Maybe it's something that I do privately or that kind of stuff, but I'm just stingy with money, I guess. It's the truth. But like I said, there's always this thing in my mind. I did it in my 20s. In my 20s, I lost £200 in a year. I lost £200 in a year purely from calorie counting. I refused to eat more than 1,200 calories a day. I did that for a whole year. Even on Christmas Day, I had a Weight Watchers ready meal and cucumber or something. And I lost tons and tons of weight, but then I had all this stretchy skin, and at the time I couldn't afford to have it removed. Even on I was earning about $1,000 a month, something like that in my old job. So there was just no universe where I could afford to have the skin removed. And having all this stretchy skin was a worse quality of life for me than being actually overweight with the skin at least filled out. You know, so I ended up starting to put it back on, because I just thought there's just no way I can deal with the skin. But now I am in a position where I could finance skin surgery. So now I'm like, let's try and do it again, lose the weight, then get the skin surgery, and then maybe consider, measures like a bariatric surgery, maybe to make sure that I never put it back on. I don't know. But appreciate the note, man, and congratulations that you've done well with it. It's 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 something I've considered. Mm. God damn, this cola keeps fizzing up all over the place. Mr. Litera One with the $5 US. Do you think people are overblowing the Xbox reset? I know it's going to be a rough transition, but I've seen some portray it as the end of Xbox again. I mean, yeah, it's just the Xbox news cycle, isn't it? It's like Xbox is so back, and then Xbox is dead. It goes up and down, and it's cyclical. I do think there's going to be probably some more significant changes than people had expected. Like it really does seem possible that Microsoft might restructure Xbox either as subsidiary or a joint venture with a Netflix, like Joaquin said, or maybe even just spin it fully out. If it spins fully out, you are going to see bits of the business get shut down, like the studios that haven't really had a hit, like a hit and all that kind of stuff. Like as a new venture, like I don't think some of those studios get saved. So it could be like it could be painful, Obviously, like we've got this slate of games upcoming, which is fine, and we've got Helix confirmed and all that kind of stuff. And for me, it's like, if they knew they were spinning Xbox out, why would they still be going to like Satya and Amy to get things approved? Like, for me, it's kind of like, at the very, very most, the restructure is going to be the LinkedIn model, where it's like LinkedIn becomes an autonomous subsidiary within Microsoft and pays some kind of dividend back to the parent company or whatever as a wholly owned subsidiary. But we'll find out. It'll probably all get announced when the fiscal year ends, probably towards July, and which is something that announce in line with then for the shareholders, because a move like spinning Xbox out would affect the share price. It'd probably make it go up, to be honest. Because the Microsoft shareholders have never liked gaming. They see it as risky. It's a hits-driven business. It's cyclical. It goes up and down. It goes all over the place. Like if you look at like ABK stock, for example, ABK stock was not hot at the point of sale. It was not doing well. It only went up when speculation about the deal going through started going up, and people thought, oh, we can make a profit. But like, look at Nintendo stock. Nintendo stock's awful right now. Investors, like, gaming is not hot. It's not seen as like, it's not seen as a, in a time where like all the capital right now is flowing towards artificial intelligence infrastructure. Look at like SpaceX right now. SpaceX's IPO, the thing everyone's talking about right now. Elon Musk is a trillionaire, at least for a couple of weeks, until people can start selling the stock. But it's a tough time, man. It's a tough time for gaming. But they've made all these promises already. Like Helix is coming, and the games they've announced. Like, it's just volatile, man. It's volatile the way Xbox presents all this shit. But I think they wanted to tell us like tough decisions ahead to, I don't know, we'll be less blindsided by it, I suppose. I do wonder what this joint venture, like if they do a joint venture, could it be a Netflix they join? Could Gabe Newell buy it? Sell one of his yachts? I don't know. But for me, I would prefer it to be a subsidiary. I think Xbox is so bound up with Microsoft's like systems. Like, I don't see how like you can fully spin it off. I don't know. But yeah, I have no idea, man. It's such a roller coaster, isn't it? Such a fucking roller coaster. Navy Shadow says, Jez, were you jealous you had a media badge instead of a fan badge at FanFest? So, what Navy Shadow is referring to there is that everyone with a fan badge at the showcase got a free X25 edition Xbox Series X. But nah, I wasn't jealous, man. I got more than enough free stuff. I mean, my Xbox Series X here is a review unit if I had from Microsoft. The X25s should definitely have gone to like fans and shit like that. I think like if I did end up with an X25 somehow, like, you know, as a review unit or something down the line, I'd probably give it away on Xbox 2 Discord, which you guys should definitely join via the link in the description. Portal Player says, are you invested in stocks, Jez? I am not. Well, I've got like, with my bank, like Lloyd's Bank, because the UK did this kind of like, this tax-free investment thing. I've got like £1,000 invested in Lloyd's Bank's like combined stock portfolio thing. But I don't know jack shit about stocks. Like, and I did Ethereum for a while, like when the pandemic was started and Ethereum and Bitcoin started to pump a little bit. I did buy some Ethereum, and that went up, and then I sold it, and then I bought a Galaxy Fold with it, with the profits. But I was just like, I found it so stressful, like tracking the price of that shit all day, every day. And I was just like, nah, I can't be bothered with this shit. I'll leave stocks and Bitcoin to people who are more more of a risk taker than myself. I don't know. First and with the 2 says 1 week of good news, typical Xbox, nothing changes. Yeah, it's a roller coaster, man. We couldn't have a single week of Xbox's back before the rake popped off, right? It's absolutely exhausting. It's exhausting to be an Xbox fan, man. I do wonder, like, you know, where all this is heading. Like in a year or so, like, are we going to be looking back at some of this stuff? I mean, I suppose like being a subsidiary entity, when like, if you are a subsidiary entity and you are incentivized more by growing your own platform holistically, rather than incentivized hitting Microsoft's accountability margin. So like the accountability margin, that is kind of like what Microsoft expects Xbox to pay back to the head office. I don't know if LinkedIn has to pay an accountability margin. Let's ask the internet. Does LinkedIn pay an accountability margin to Microsoft? How does that work? Let's ask Copilot. You know, maybe Copilot will just lie to us, but so short answer, LinkedIn does pay an accountability margin to Microsoft, but not as a public line item. It happens through internal transfer pricing, where LinkedIn is treated as a separate legal entity and is required to pay Microsoft for shared services, IP, infrastructure, and corporate overhead at arm's length margins. This is standard for multinational groups and is heavily regulated. So basically, it sounds like what we'd call in England a service charge, I suppose. So Xbox would pay Microsoft for Azure, and then stuff like HR, legal, finance, security. And would Xbox own? I suppose it would be a bit different. Would Microsoft own the IP? And then it says here, LinkedIn pays an internal fee plus a margin Typically 3 to 10% to satisfy global tax rules. So, yeah, so it does sound like, I don't know. It does sound like it'd be better overall for like this. And it says here, why does Microsoft do this? Regulatory compliance. Tax authorities require arm's length pricing. Microsoft has faced scrutiny adjustments in the past. Internal performance measurement, capital allocation. This can, like, I don't get what that means. So LinkedIn pays Microsoft through marked up shared service charges, internal Azure billing, IP licensing, cost sharing agreements, profit level targets enforced by transfer pricing rules. So I suppose it's like, yeah, Nerds of the Legend says LinkedIn is like a contractual permanent subscriber of Microsoft services and infrastructure, or at least that's my interpretation. I think that's basically what it is, right? So in that universe, it's kind of like nothing really changes except Xbox kind of, the incentives for the way Xbox grows its business changes, right? You won't have to like specifically hit targets outlined by Amy Hood, which has been obviously a big point of contention here. If you don't have to like, or even like Satya Nadella's philosophy. We heard in the trial, Satya says he doesn't like the idea of software exclusivity, but software exclusivity is absolutely the business model for growing your own console platform, right? But you know, it could all just be like, I don't know. It could all just be a load of nothing at the same time. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. It's gonna be like, we're gonna have like at least a couple of weeks of this, trying to figure out like what's real and what's not real and all that kind of thing. When does Microsoft's fiscal actually end? Microsoft fiscal year end, because I presume we'll find out before that happens. June 30th. So June 30th is when the fiscal ends. So I presume in a couple of weeks we'll find out for sure. And I'm going on vacation next week. So maybe in when I'm on vacation, all this will go down and it will all be annoying and crazy, you know. And I'll have to jump on my laptop while I'm on vacation. So yeah, I don't know. It's all crazy, man. Let's see what we've got here. Is PlayStation a subsidiary of Sony? I think that is how it works, isn't it? Is PlayStation a subsidiary of Sony? I think it is. So SIE or whatever it is. So PlayStation business is operated by Sony Interactive Entertainment, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Sony Group Corporation. I mean, this is what Google did when it got a little bit too big. They reorganized and became Alphabet, right? So then like Google is a wholly owned subsidiary of Alphabet Group or whatever. So maybe like Microsoft's going to like do an Alphabet and restructure the whole fucking business. Maybe it's going to be like every part of Microsoft becomes a subsidiary or something. But it does seem like LinkedIn and GitHub have done really well in that model. So we'll see, right? Yeah, I don't know. Sauron Grant 1471 with the 10 quid. Look into fasting. It's free and natural. I got to one meal a day, but external distractions threw me off. I'm 62. You old wish I learned this when I was younger. I have tried intermittent fasting. I struggle with that. I really need something, you know. So like when I was dieting in my 20s, I'd have like I'd have about like 400 calories for breakfast, and then I'd have like maybe like an apple or something for lunch, and then like I'd have another 400 calories for dinner, and then have an apple again later on if I was hungry. Um, just to, you know, get rid of that feeling. I'd also eat a lot, well, not eat, but I chew a lot of chewing gum. Like chewing gum seems to help with appetite for some reason. I don't know what the mechanics of that are. But I was chewing a lot of chewing gum when I was losing weight as well. Um, Davo with the $5 US reminds me of when we heard an executive suggested they just buy Nintendo. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe Nintendo buys Xbox, man. Maybe Nintendo and Xbox merge. Maybe Valve and Xbox merge. Something. I genuinely feel like something crazy is going to go down. I do like. I am getting this sense from who I speak to, who I'm speaking to, that this could really well be the plan. But I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, people asking again where Rand is. Rand is currently experiencing a tornado in Chicago, so he has no power, unfortunately. But we'll have Rand, and we'll do a show on Monday, hopefully. Frito Sandwich with the $2 US. Thank you so much. Is the toxic Halo Studios leaders getting the axe? I have no idea what's going on with Halo Studios, but like they are not happy with Halo's direction. Or that they're not happy with how Halo's been managed, rather. I think like they've got high hopes for the remaster. Like, you know, I haven't played it myself. I just missed the cutoff to get into the media preview. But you know, some of the previews are pretty positive. I have seen like some people take exception with some of the art. Like some of the art seems to play fast and loose with the lore. I know hardcore Halo fans are really particular about some of that stuff, but I don't know. Halo's been legendarily mismanaged. I think all you guys would agree, right? I mean, I don't hate the idea of giving Halo to id Software, man. Or at least letting them make a spin-off like an ODST or something just to get it rolling again. So just something, anything, man. Like I don't know, man. Just James 93 with the 2. Hey dude, how's it going? Just eat meat and eggs. I mean that's pretty much what I'm doing. Like this is my dinner. I had boiled eggs for dinner. That's pretty much what I'm doing. Yeah. I love me some eggs, man. Grantman with the $5. Thank you very much. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and in Chapter 5 at the bottom of the cruise ship, I was getting some serious Parasite Eve vibes. Remake Parasite Eve, man, it was weird, man. The other day, I got an ad on Instagram for Parasite Eve anniversary vinyl or something, and I was like, that is so strange to get an ad for Parasite Eve in 2026. But I agree wholeheartedly. Remake Parasite Eve. I would be absolutely ecstatic if we did get a Parasite Eve remake. It's tough. So let's talk about my article from today, actually. I wrote an article today about the margin pressures that Xbox is facing, and I've actually got a little bit more details about it because a couple of people reached out to me after I'd written that, and they wanted to actually feed me some more details to flesh it out. So, from what my analysis seems generally spot on from the people I've spoke to, but one of the things that I didn't mention in this article was that also Candy Crush is a huge reason why the margins are pressured right now. And I wouldn't have ever considered this. And this is one of the problems with being in the bubble, the core gamer bubble. We never think about the mobile stuff. And I completely overlooked it. But apparently, like Candy Crush Saga by itself, at the point of purchase, was a third of ABK's revenue. Now, that's difficult to process for me because who's playing Candy Crush? Like, who are these people who are not only playing Candy Crush, but spending tons of money in Candy Crush? But can you believe that? Candy Crush, just Candy Crush, was bigger than Blizzard. What? But apparently Candy Crush is experiencing a decline as well, due to stiff competition from Monopoly Go, and a game I've never heard of. So there's some like serious competition in the Candy Crush space, which is also putting pressure on the accountability margin. So like Call of Duty had an off year, Candy Crush has had a bit of an off year, which has also compounded some of this stuff. And then you've got like Xbox Game Studios basically had like a sprint of games that just didn't really deliver. You know, like Minecraft Legends, Ninja Gaiden 4, Minecraft Earth, well, that was a huge failure. Bleeding Edge, Towerborn didn't do that well. Microsoft paid for that, you know, and stuff like the amount of investment they've had to put into Fable to get it to where it is now, because Forza Tech was not designed to build a game like this. So like now they've done the investment, like Fable 2 hopefully will be a lot easier to develop than Fable 1 was. But it's been a drain on resources. It's been a drain on that margin to invest to get it to this place, you know, and also fixing Undead Labs, because when Jeff Strain left, it caused a ton of disruption to Undead Labs and State of Decay 3. So, you know, investing there to fix that stuff. But then you've had stuff like The Initiative. The Initiative was a huge quagmire, which drained a ton of resources and cost a lot of money. You know, and then you've got some of the other stuff, you know. So like when you're looking at like the accountability margin aspect of it, there are parts of the business which are sort of like they were being tasked with sort of bringing more of their own revenue to that margin. So, you know, Call of Duty, the more successful parts of the business, like Call of Duty, so on and so forth, and platform, Game Pass too, you know. So it goes against the popular narrative, but Game Pass by itself was like 5 billion in revenue. And you know, like I said earlier, for reference, ABK, all of ABK was 8 billion in revenue. So it's like Game Pass was a serious driver of very stable, predictable revenue over time, right? And it's like you get to this point where you're sort of to reach those accountability margins that Amy and Satya are expecting, you end up leaning harder than you otherwise would be on Call of Duty, on Candy Crush, on this kind of stuff. So when they have an off year, it has like a sort of a cascading, a compounding negative effect over the whole business, right? So I'm not saying they put all their eggs in one basket necessarily, but a lot of eggs were in that basket, and a lot of those eggs got smashed. So you know, it's been a tough year, but like I said earlier, like fiscal 2025 was Xbox's best year ever on paper, you know, and that was under Phil. It's just that like a lot of shit went wrong all at once. You know, you've got like a sprint of games that didn't do well. You've got Candy Crush having an off year. You've got Call of Duty having an off year, and then you've got like component prices costing exponentially more. And we think about like when we think about component prices, we're mostly thinking about console, right? But the thing is, it's not just console. It's like it's dev kits, it's dev kits, it's servers, it's supply chains, it's you know, equipment for your staff. Like their costs, they're in tech, so their costs just skyrocketed, right? And another thing is like a lot of their studios are based in places where it's very, very expensive. Like Double Fine, for example, is based in San Francisco, and building a game like Keeper, which is not expensive, um, in the grand scheme of things, it's disproportionately expensive than it otherwise would have been, purely on the basis that it's in San Francisco, and you've got to pay San Francisco prices for everything. So, um, it's a tough time, and the thing is that the reason why this is happening, right now, is because they're not projecting things are going to get better in the short term. So the idea is like the decisions you make as a business like this, um, the decisions you make as a business like this, it's it's based on future projections. It's based on like what you expect to happen. And right now, consumer confidence is lower than it's been since the pandemic. So you potentially expecting users to spend less. Inflation is going up, and it's probably going to get worse in the United States. So again, you're expecting consumers to spend less, and you're also expecting your costs to go up. And they're also not projecting memory prices to come down until 2028. So at least for the next fiscal, you've got like a coalescence of headwinds, which are informing some of Xbox's decisions right now. The problem is like Microsoft has this tendency of like, it's weird because I don't think transparency is a bad thing, right? But we get this because Microsoft is transparent with this stuff, because they like to do interviews and they like to talk to the press. We get this perception that only Xbox is experiencing these issues. But these are issues that Nintendo are facing. These are issues that PlayStation are facing. These are issues that all consumer tech companies are facing right now. And it revolves around the price of memory, at its core. So, and you got to look at it like this as well. If a significant portion of PlayStation's revenue is increasingly based on the success of franchises Microsoft owns. So if Call of Duty has an off year, that negatively impacts PlayStation as well. It negatively impacts the whole industry. It's weird, man. It's a wild time. So this is kind of what happens when growth stalls, right? When growth stalls, your costs start to catch up. And because like there's fewer users coming in and the competition for attention is harder than ever, like Xbox is and PlayStation and whatever, they're all like, they're competing with the likes of TikTok and these addictive algorithms and stuff for attention. Increasingly, like governments are looking at putting limits on these addictive algorithms, which could help Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. It's kind of funny now, like gaming is seen as the healthy pastime for kids instead of using social media. So we could potentially see some sort of collateral benefits from that, like as an industry. But it's a tough fucking time, man. Like it's a really tough time. And if you're a business like Microsoft and you're thinking like things are probably going to get tougher in the next year, you kind of have to like make these tough decisions now before they become impossible to make later. History is kind of paved with the failures of companies that didn't adapt, or they hoped the problems would go away when they just weren't going to do it. So I suppose we'll just see how it all goes, man. But that's like in a nutshell what's going on. There's more details in my article, like, and more explanations, but it's why they are looking at things like ad-based models. Like, how can we keep the revenue up to stay ahead of inflation? How can we keep the business sustainable in an era where we can't manufacture enough stock to meet demand, or become a global brand? Like all the stock Xbox is making is kind of going towards its core markets, but that's to the detriment of like all these other markets, which could also be growth markets, because the business model is just kind of broken right now. You know, it's not even like cloud can help here, because cloud needs memory too. You know, in fact, cloud needs more memory in some regards, because one thing xCloud does is like there's so many games on xCloud now. Like back in the day when there was only like 20 games on xCloud, it was different. But now there's like a bajillion games on xCloud. All those games need to be stored in your server cluster, you know, and the cloud kind of streams the game from like a central storage solution. Um uh like installs it on the fly on the node you're accessing. Because like it's not like those servers have the game installed all the time. Which is why sometimes you often see like xCloud take a long time to load up. It's not that you're in a queue, it's that the server cluster is installing the game for you on the fly, or like streaming it from a network over a network cable, right? But yeah, like the point is, it's all memory. It's all of its memory, and when your costs are like this, like it's just the whole business model breaks apart. You know, it's like we've gone back in time to a time when like everything's just way more expensive. Chris R55 with $5. Thank you very much. Asha mentioned external costs. Do you think the trend of all Xbox studios moving away from their proprietary engines towards Unreal Engine 5 is reversed? And it's a really great question, and it's something that I have spoken to Xbox people about. There is like this kind of one thing that I know that Phil and the people there wanted to do, because I spoke to them about this at a show before, and like one of the things they wanted to do was develop id tech and even maybe open source id tech, you know, and develop that as an in-house solution. I mean, look at Capcom. Capcom like developed their own engine in-house, and they've been absolutely killing it with that engine. Like I've never seen. Is there any publisher in history that's shipped so much AAA quality content in a single year than Capcom? Like Capcom is absolutely on a tear right now, and I have to believe part of it's because of that engine, like RE engine. You know, like RE engine like didn't work that great for Monster Hunter Wilds, but it's like they'll develop it to a point where it is good for that kind of game too. So will they move away? Will they move towards proprietary engines? Like in the long term, maybe. In the short term, it will take a long time, you know. But this is exactly like what I was saying earlier with Forza Tech. Like they've developed Forza Tech for Fable, and maybe that's the play. You know, develop Forza Tech to become a more versatile platform for developing AAA games. Like it'd be interesting to see what Fable's like when we actually get our hands on it. Like how optimized is it for different platforms and that kind of stuff. Because you know, like Forza Horizon 6, for example, runs incredibly well on low-end hardware. So like if that translates to a potentially denser open world kind of RPG, because there's potentially more shit going on with an RPG, right? We'll see where it goes, man. But yeah, I do think moving to proprietary is probably a good idea. Findle70 with the $5 says, one thing, the Xbox 25, Phil had to get final approval for that last year. Did he have to sacrifice like the ESO studio spin-off, etc. to pay for it? I'm not quite sure what you mean, bro. ESO studio spin-off? What do you mean, dude? Clarify for me in the chat if you can. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Maybe someone else can explain it, or I'm just having a brain fart right now. Oh my god, Turtles with the £5. Shout out to you, dude. Do you think these pro-consumer moves and focus on the traditional console game will result in growth? Hope you've recovered from your holiday. um, I mean, I want to believe it'll you know be growth. I mean, they did say that Game Pass has returned to growth now they've lowered the price. I think like they've got to be cognizant of the fact that, like I say, consumer confidence index is its lowest level since the pandemic. You and it's trending downwards even further. So people people are hanging on to their money more than ever, or more than ever in recent memory. And if you take artificial intelligence out of the economic equation, like, sorry, the US economy is like supposedly only grown by like 0.2% if you take away all the AI investment. And by the way, AI has not returned anything yet. So like right now, like AI is generating debt rather than profits and productivity, which is not the economic situation you want to be in, I would have thought. So, you know, Xbox kind of like doesn't exist in a vacuum, and there's all this other kind of shit going on right now. I want to believe it will result in growth, but like there's so many cheaper ways to entertain yourself these days. I remember being a kid in my 20s or earlier. I remember being bored. Do you guys remember being bored? It sounds like a fundamentally weird thing to ask, but like say like maybe since like my late 20s, there's always something to do or something to look at, some screen to look at. There's never any boredom. Like before it was like, I'm going to play games because I'm bored, but now it's like, I'm going to play games because I need to actively make a choice to do it. Because if I'm bored, I can be lazier and cheaper to lie in bed and doom scroll, you know, um, and just doom scroll. And billions of people are doing that. They're just doom scrolling away instead of actively making a decision to read a book, watch a movie, play a game, that kind of thing. I mean, at best, what they do is they doom scroll while they've got Netflix on in the background. The problem is you can't doom scroll while the games are in the background, unless you're watching on YouTube, in which case you haven't made the purchase, right? I've just thought of a great business idea. How about this? You have an AI play the game for you, so you can doom scroll while the game plays itself. Brilliant. I've just solved the crisis, and that plays into Microsoft's whole AI bullshit, right? Oh my God. Did you guys see this news thing? Like, I saw that Claude has managed to complete Pokemon using only its vision or something. So, the AI's playing games is a thing that's gonna happen. Maybe AI, maybe it's just like the AI plays the game in the background, or you can just tell the AI to take over so you can doom scroll for 5 minutes. Fucking hell, man. What a universe. Oh man. The game adaptation newscast says we should all still be talking about how great the showcase was, not even a week ago. Yeah, it's wild. Like we haven't this is the first podcast after Summer Game Fest, and I haven't talked about the showcase at all because there's just already been so much drama. There's already been the rakes, man. Web Dave with the $2. Great to meet you at FanFest. I trust in Asha's path. Yeah, dude. Web Dave, it's really cool to meet you, man. Thanks for the $2. I really appreciate it. Hopefully get to see all you guys next year as well. I mean, FanFest and like the Xbox Showcase was an amazing experience. Like I missed 2025, but I was there in 2024 for the Xbox Showcase. 2024 feels like a million years ago, man. Feels like a million years ago. Like, I'm gonna put a poll in chat and I'll poll up on Spotify to ask you guys how you felt about the showcase. So rate the Xbox Showcase. A, B, C, Udi. Start poll. And I'll put that up on Spotify as well for those who are listening later. But yeah, like, how do you guys rate the showcase? So I think for me, it was a B plus, personally. The reason I say B plus is because a lot of the content that was there, we kind of knew about it, right? which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I'm really glad we got deep dives of Fable and Gear Z Day. Like Gear Z Day looked incredible. Um, Absolutely fantastic. Clockwork Revolution looks exactly my jam. That looks fantastic too. State of Decay 3 looks fantastic. But what I would have really, really liked to see was something unexpected. And they have to have these projects which are further out, you know. And I know Matt Booty was like, these are the games coming in the next 12 months, and they have been burned by showing things too early. Like, we're still waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, right? Although it was before Microsoft's time. And we're also like, you know, we wait. They revealed Perfect Dark, and we got cancelled. So they have been burned by doing that. But I just like just something unexpected, something further out, something unexpected, something cool. You know, I would have liked to have seen that to bring it up to an A. But overall, I thought it was a really solid show. Um, you know, I was really surprised how popular the Spyro trailer was. I think Ran said to me like the reason it's got so many views is because they ran it as an ad or something. But like, I mean, looking at the comments, like it's got that trailer has some serious genuine engagement. Like I think people underestimate like the Gen Z audience that are coming up to now like 20, 21, 22. They have a lot of nostalgia for Spyro and Skylanders. And I think like we trying to I think with Spyro we seeing that materialize. And I spoke to Toys for Bob, and they were saying like fashion is cyclical and nostalgia is cyclical. You know, so I do think you know it was cool to see that show up. Painful discourse with the 5231. Sorry, said Senna was surprised. I think I actually didn't I leak Hellblade 3. I thought it was Hellblade 3. But I think I actually either spoke about it on the podcast or I wrote it in an article that I did say I heard Project Tomorrow was cancelled, and and that they were working on Hellblade 3 instead. But you know this is what it is, you know. So it wasn't a surprise for me. Actually, I suppose it was a surprise. I didn't think it'd be this early. Actually, I didn't expect it this early. Um, but yeah, it's that's cool. I think like one of the issues like with Hellblade was always like it's a great technical showcase, but it's not a game. You know, and it's great art. It's great art, but I want to be able to play the game generally. So, the idea of like a more combat heavy Hellblade universe is absolutely hype in my view. And some of the some of the kind of some of the details that have come out about it have sounded quite compelling. Like it's vastly bigger than Hellblade 2. It's gonna have way more combat and like more depth and more like systems and that kind of stuff. So absolutely fantastic to see that shit announced. Um, what did you guys think of Gears of War E-Day? Like I thought E-Day looked absolutely fantastic. I loved like they really leaned into like the horror aspect of it. I felt like um the locusts were way more, I don't know, they're demented, feral, evil, you know. There was like I kind of felt like in the original, at least to some degree, like maybe with the exception of Ram, it was very comic book and cartoony, and it still is to some degree. Like they were talking about how like the character models are not they're not supposed to look like super realistic. They're supposed to have that sort of gear style with like the really wide necks and the sort of stout kind of bodies and stuff. Um, the sort of Rob Liefeld cartoon kind of look, a comic book look rather. But the Locust man was just absolutely brutal. I love what they've done there because that's kind of like it's kind of how you remember it, right? You remember the Locust being this like absolutely scary thing. So I think like over time you have to like double up and account for the imagination people have had about that kind of stuff. Um, But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it looked really, really good. Mm. Um. So, but yeah, State of Decay 3 also looked really, really good. I was surprised to see Wolong getting a sequel. So that was cool. What else? What else from the showcase did you guys think was good? Um, Persona 6. I think Nate the Hate leaked that, but we didn't see any gameplay or anything from it. Um, I was hoping, like, I was honestly hoping for like some, I don't know, something like more surprising third party wise. I was kind of hoping for Final Fantasy 17, man. And I know we got Rebirth at Summer Game Fest, but it would have been cool to see something like nostalgic on that level, maybe. I don't know. Also, like the Fallout remaster project. I would have liked to have seen that because we know it's coming. I think Todd McFarlane Toys actually basically kind of leaked it officially now, so we know it's coming. Mm. So that magician game, yeah, the magician's game looks really, really cool. Do you know what I thought when I saw that magician's game? I was thinking like, oh, is this Compulsion's game? But nope. But it looks like something I would have expected to have seen from Compulsion, I think. But yeah, it looked really, really cool. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Lord Henry says, I wanted to see some Blade. Vivarium looked cool. The Doom DLC looked cool. Malphas says, I would like to see a third person StarCraft shooter. I think you'll have to tune into BlizzCon in September for the StarCraft shooter. Um, Zach Riley says, people are saying Compulsion is shut down. I mean, that's kind of. That's kind of. That's kind of like what people have been wondering. Like, if there are going to be studio closures and layoffs, where are they going to fall? You know, and for like, I don't think there's a lot of people outside of the upper echelons of Xbox who know about what's going to happen, right? Um, but you know, if you sort of like taking an analytical position on it, and it sucks because you're talking about people's livelihoods here, people's livelihoods and projects and things they've poured their passion and soul into. Um, you have to think about like what um you have to kind of think about like which of the studios that haven't really had a hit, right? Um, Compulsion is one of those studios. Like, unfortunately, like they just haven't had they just haven't had a hit, you know, and it just sucks. It just sucks, but it's just the kind of the way the cookie crumbles, right? And you also look at studios like Double Fine, like they've shipped Keeper and Kiln, and yeah, these weren't like big expensive projects, and the way I heard it went down is kind of like Keeper was sort of like Keeper was a project that was greenlit, led by the art team, while sort of programming work and incubation were being done on the bigger project. So it was kind of like Keeper was not like something that detracted from Double Fine's next bigger project. It was kind of like something that was being in parallel, so the different team had something to work on. And like I say, cheap to make, right? But I also kind of think like, you know, it kind of undermines Double Fine's brand potentially when they put out games that are smaller projects, because I think people have a higher expectation of anything that comes under the Xbox brand, you know, and I think, you know, maybe that's just not fair, right? Maybe it's just not fair. Um, but uh, I don't know. So much of the industry feels like vibe driven right now. But yeah, so I think like if they were looking at Double Fine, like I would hope that Double Fine could be spun off as indie, because Tim Schafer is obviously a legend, and Double Fine has its fans, and maybe Double Fine could sustain itself with Kickstarter again. Like I think they did Kickstarters before in the past, so maybe Double Fine goes back to being indie like Toys for Bob did. Um, so I would hope that's the case. If you know, personally, I wouldn't, I want to see their next game come out. Like I want Microsoft to see it through to the end. But if they are looking to make cuts, it is some of these kind of studios. Like someone in chat asked about Turn 10. Like I've heard that Turn 10 basically doesn't really exist as a studio already. It's kind of like Turn 10 is sort of Turn 10's kind of become like a tech support entity for Forza Tech, you know, and they work mostly with Playground Games, and you know, like Turn 10 as a studio probably effectively doesn't exist anyway, you know. Um, you know, and something I've heard. I don't know how true that is, but that's like something I've heard. So, do you shut down Turn 10 or just sort of merge what's left of it into Playground? Because it is Forza Tech is Turn 10's engine at the end of the day, right? Um, and then you even have to look at studios like Obsidian. Like, unfortunately, it's like Obsidian. If it wasn't for Grounded, there isn't much to point to Obsidian in terms of success stories. Like Obsidian has a large back catalog of games which, you know, sell a little bit here and there, I suppose. You know, and they did put out an update for Pillars of Eternity, which added like turn-based combat. But there's also like Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2 just didn't hit, you know, so and there's a lot of tenured staff at Obsidian, which makes you wonder like what will happen to Obsidian. I think there's got to be so much anxiety in Xbox's studios right now, particularly like the ones that you know, either don't have a game coming out soon, because like if you're in Exile or Undead Labs, you've got a game coming out soon, so it's not like Microsoft's gonna cut and run at this point, right? But for studios that don't have a game coming out soon, they're probably very nervous right now, and it sucks. It really does suck. Um, First and 15th, two with the $2 says Phil was really gonna do full multi-plat showcase. I mean, you know, selling software is the business at the end of the day. Um, it's kind of like when you can't make consoles because of the memory stuff, then the logic is to put the software where the people are, you know, and Microsoft are evidently still going to do that. I think like one of the reasons you're seeing games like State of Decay and Fable still being multi-platform is because those games are so monstrously expensive to make, you know, so you've got to, if you want to sort of like make those business modules healthier, you know, and you know, Forza Horizon is kind of subsidizing Fable right now, but you don't want to live in that world. You want Forza to subsidize Forza. You know, you want Forza money to be reinvested in Forza. So, you know, it's just tough. It's all of it's just tough. Woggerman with the $10 US. Thank you so much for that, dude. Hey, Jez, great seeing you. What do you think the next announced exclusive will be? I'm thinking Double Fine's next game, if it's still an Xbox Studio. Um, I would I would say maybe. Um, I don't know. I think like one of the things they would want to do, I suppose, with Double Fine is to get its profitability up. So like an easy way of doing that is to go multi-platform, right? It's not like in Exile, because I think in Exile was just we want to focus on one platform. I think that was an incidental thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Alex, it was amazing seeing you at the showcase, and thanks for helping me get around in your car. I really appreciate it. Um, but yeah, what else have we got here? Juan says Jez, but Perfect Dark was also coming out. I mean, it kind of wasn't. Like what we saw of Perfect Dark was pretty much next to nothing. That game was still years away, man. It was still years and years away. Good old Collingwood says, will there be a Patreon session today? Yes, there will be. And in fact, I'm going to start it soon because there's a lot of questions. There is a lot of questions and we want to get through them. So let's do some Patreon Q&As. But yeah, I'm really hoping that Blade makes it over the finish line. Like, Arcane's another studio that hasn't had a hit for a long time. It's a tough market, man. Oh, Baldy McNosehair with the $5 Canadian says, Jez, what are your thoughts on Wolverine Until Dawn 2 and God of War Lo-Fi? Wolverine looks fun. I'm not into Marvel stuff. You know, if you listen to my stuff, the show, like, I'm not into comic books that much. You know, I like Batman a little bit, but it's not like something I'm like super passionate about. But Wolverine looks like a fun hack and slash. I'm glad that it's mature, like Wolverine should be. You know, I would have thought. I didn't see the Until Dawn 2 trailer, but I'm surprised it exists. You know, I don't think a lot of people expected Until Dawn 2 to ever be a thing, but here we are. So I'm glad that it exists. God of War Laufey, I probably pronounced that wrong. I don't know. It didn't look like my cup of tea, I guess. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about that one. It just didn't appeal to me very much. You know, I like the funny cube and stuff like that, you know. If you guys know my gaming taste, I'm pretty miserable a lot of the time. But again, like I hope it's good for fans and stuff, but it didn't appeal to me that much. I was far more interested in like some of PlayStation's other projects, like, you know, Phantom Blade Zero. I think that looks amazing. I know it's not first party, but it's like Sony's been funding it, and I think they're publishing it, right? So Phantom Blade Zero looks way more interesting to me than God of War, the new God of War. But you know, like, but PlayStation's got similar issues. Like they want their studios to ship games faster, and I think like this God of War spin-off is like an effort towards that. I won't be surprised if Xbox Studios deliver some more spin-offs more quickly based on existing engines to try and, you know, work up those margins. We'll see. We'll see, man. The J Strong with the 5 says, was any part of the Xbox podcast that gave you chills? What did you think of that Fable 30-minute vid? I actually haven't watched the Fable 30-minute video yet. I need to go and watch it, but I've heard it's very good. Did anything give me chills? I don't think so. I don't think so. The Final Fantasy 7 the Final Fantasy 7 Revelations, it's called Revelations, right? Or Revelation. That gave me chills. But that's purely driven by nostalgia, man. I'm so nostalgic for Final Fantasy 7. I'm playing through Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth again at the moment on Xbox, and I just finished 7 Remake for like the 3rd or 4th time. Like, Final Fantasy 7 Remake is the only game that I've completed more than twice this gen. I've completed it 3 or 4 times now. I don't know why, but I'm just like, I'm such a nostalgia whore for Final Fantasy 7. It's pure nostalgia, man. It's pure nostalgia. Quarantine Fox with the £2 says, do you think Xbox tried to be too many things? Maybe. It's hard to say, man. I mean, they did get very big and bloated, but like, I think what might have been Xbox Game Studios undoing was lack of direction. I think having studios, I mean, I think Ryan McCaffrey said this a while ago. Ryan McCaffrey had a controversial comment a long time ago where he said something like, I don't know why Obsidian's working on Avowed and stuff like this. They should be working on New Vegas or something like that. And I think even I criticized him at the time, and I was like, you know, we should let the studios like make what they want to make. And I still fundamentally believe that. But you have to wonder. Hindsight's 2020. In a universe where the Fallout TV show has absolutely exploded, having Obsidian work on Fallout would have been a much safer bet for the health of that studio long term. So, you know, there's something to be said for that, you know. And it sucks because I really liked Outer Worlds 1. I wanted to see that become a franchise. I really like Pillars, and the idea of like a Pillars of Eternity Skyrim should have been compelling to me, but the execution on both just wasn't there, you know. And I don't know if that's like because they divided their efforts too much, or you know, the engine trying to build a Skyrim kind of game on that engine is too tough, or they should have just, you know, worked on a Fallout spin-off on the creation engine. Would they have been able to iterate more quickly and deliver something, you know, potentially like more profitable, more easy? Then yeah, probably they would have been able to. Um, but I don't know. It's like I say, hindsight's 2020, man. Hindsight's 2020. Let's Eat Good with the $2 says Xbox is back in last week. Now Xbox is dead. Yep. That's the roller coaster we live on in this place. Yet another Xbox gamer says, "Hey JEZ, what chances are we gonna get the next Halo teased in December at Halo Fest?" I don't think so, man. I think it's way too early, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Lord Henry says, "Will Guild Wars 3 eat WoW's lunch when it releases?" No, it will not. Guild Wars 1 was supposed to eat WoW's lunch, and Guild Wars 2 was supposed to eat WoW's lunch, and they're fundamentally different games. They got different business models. You know, they got different business models at the end of the day. But Guild Wars 3 does look good. And Guild Wars has a very, like, passionate fan base. But I don't know. Vague Dream says, "Didn't Obsidian want to make a New Vegas? What did I miss? Why is Obsidian suddenly a problem?" Like, Obsidian's not a problem. It's just like there's a sort of mathematical reality that Outworlds 2 didn't make money and Avowed didn't make money or drive engagement for Game Pass. Nobody played those games, unfortunately. So that's just, you know, the sort of the reality of the situation that Obsidian finds itself in. Like, if it wasn't for Grounded, Obsidian would be a lot of trouble. Thankfully, Grounded is really big. Like, Grounded is a big deal. But yeah, like, eventually you have to sell a product. Eventually you have to do that, you know. The money has to come from somewhere. I don't know. The Liz22 with the $5 says, "The way Asha and Matt Ball talking, something big is going to happen. Also, Asha had one line in an interview that Game Pass is changing this summer." Yeah, we've been talking about like what the big thing could mean. I do think that the big thing is quite possibly Xbox being restructured in some way, but we'll see what happens. But now we're going to get some Patreon Q&As because we got a lot of them. And if we don't start doing them now, we're going to be here all night. So if you've been enjoying the show, smash the like button. Do check us out on Patreon as well. On Patreon, you get the newsletter every week from me, which has like inside information about Xbox. That's on the lowest tier. I think it's like $1.99. It's currently 50% off through to June 14th. So definitely check out our Patreon. Really, really appreciate it, especially because I don't know if I'll still have a job by the end of the year. So would appreciate it very much. And let's get some of these Patreon Q&As. So these are the Patreon topics which people submit every week. And we've got Murray here. Hi, Rand and Jez. What do you think? How many years will it take them to release more exclusives in a year than multiplats, or will it ever get there? I don't think we'll get to a point where they're releasing more exclusives than multiplats for a very, very long time. A very, very long time, if ever. I think exclusives are still going to be an exception, personally. I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where exclusives become the norm for them, because people don't switch platforms anymore. People have picked their habits and they're sticking with them. So I don't think we ever get to a point where they release more exclusives, but could be wrong. Quote me on that if things change in 20 years. um, Georgie9309 says, someone in Xbox era says, Reset Era is claiming Compulsion is being shut down. Their friend got laid off and was told the studio is being shut down. I don't know about that. Seems a bit early for those suggestions. But, you know, I think it's probably just guesswork on their part. We'll see what happens. Murray, question 2. What do you think that will change about Helix? Hardware specs, openness, or the store's delayed release? What will they change about Helix? I mean, this is another one. Like, so Matt Ball was saying that they would have to look at changing. They would have to look at changing how Helix shows up in a universe where memory costs $1 bajillion, right? I think what they're going to do is the thing we talked about before, which is OEMs. I think other companies will be able to make Helix consoles. One of the things that I know that Xbox was going back and forth on last year was, do we let other companies have access to this chip? I would expect that they are going to let other companies have access to that chip, and that we will see sort of like an Asus Xbox and, like, you know, Chinese Xboxes or Taiwanese Xboxes, or, you know, maybe even a Sony Xbox. Probably not. But I do think that's the way that'll go. I think they're going to democratize access to the chips rather than keep them exclusive. But we'll see. But in that universe, you'll probably get like a high-end Xbox that's quite expensive, like Surface, how the Surface model is, where there's like Surface is like a reference device for enthusiasts, and then probably, you know, you pay a premium for that, and then you'll be looking at third-party Xboxes which are cheaper, maybe less powerful, maybe a bit uglier, use cheaper parts, that kind of thing. I think that's probably how it will go down. Good old Colin with the $5. Jez, the quote by Ryan was, why Obsidian putting people on Grounded and not Avowed? Funny how that ended out. Yeah, I suppose so. Like, Grounded is the success story and Avowed isn't, right? But I do think there was a lot. I don't know if it was Ryan. Like, I don't want to misquote him, but there was conversations about why isn't Obsidian making a new Vegas. You know, the people were talking about that for ages. There was all these kind of rumors that Obsidian should make a new Fallout game, and that Todd Howard wouldn't let them. I don't know anything about any of that, but it's pretty self-evident that Avowed was the wrong bet, or at least like trying to make Avowed and the Outer Worlds was the wrong bet. Maybe they should have just focused on the Outer Worlds, put like, instead of having two teams working on both, try and make the Outer Worlds like a true sequel rather than this kind of like a AA kind of experience, which I don't think has the quality bar to get attention in today's market, you know, fair or not, right? You know, so I suppose we'll see. Next up, we've got Tylis with question 1. I know none of us are hardware experts, but what are some ways you think consoles could be cheaper? I'm guessing they'll remove the disk drive, limit SSD storage, maybe sell tags on console without a controller. I do think like one of the models they'll probably look at is like bring your own SSD. So like I remember back in the day, the first Xbox 360 I bought did not come with a hard drive. The hard drive was sold separately. Or it had like some very, very limited internal memory, and it was like you buy your hard drive separately, right? So I think that's one way they could do it. They could be like, bring your own SSD, you know, bring your own NVMe hard drive and solid state drive. And I've got an NVMe drive lying around somewhere. So it's like Microsoft could reduce the amount of memory by offering a SKU that doesn't have a drive, doesn't have storage rather, and bring your own storage. Right, bring your own M2 drive, and also without a controller. I think someone told me that the Steam machine was going to be shipped without a controller, and I've got 10 Xbox controllers lying around. I do not need the next Xbox to come with a controller, personally. Um, you know, so I do think that's going to be a thing that'll happen, probably to drive down costs too. But um, yeah, I think those are that's low hanging fruit, right? Asha seems to be indicating they're revisiting the next gen console, but reaffirmed it will play PC games. Could this be more limited, or even something she goes back on now she wants a cheaper console? I mean, I think that kind of locked into the current chip, the chips they've commissioned from AMD. So, that includes, full Windows support and full Xbox console support. So I think they're kind of locked into that now. And I think they do want to work towards like moving more people to PC potentially. But I suppose like the question is like, do they open it? Do they open it to Steam? Do they actually do that? It's really hard to say. I think they are still going through with this plan, but potentially there's other levers that can pull to get the console down to a lower price. We've got Mr. Winkle with the $5 Canadian. Thank you very much. Hey Jez, good luck with your weight loss journey. Surprised to hear Xbox might be spun off after Sachi just said Microsoft is long on gaming. Yeah, I mean, when you take that comment, it kind of sounds like um it might be just a subsidiary play. It could be like we'll make it a subsidiary like LinkedIn, and then they'll pay us a service charge instead. I hope that's what it is. But we'll see. We'll see, man. I think we'll find out before the end of the month, I would expect, since it's leaking already. True Hero 813 says with the $2 US, is Microsoft really going to sell off Xbox T or F? We don't know. I've heard that like the information is accurate, that they were considering these kind of restructuring options, but I don't know which they'll pick. For me, like the LinkedIn GitHub model makes the most sense, where it's a wholly owned subsidiary, like PlayStation is within Sony. So SIE is a wholly owned subsidiary of Sony. So I think like I would hope that's the play. The idea of it being like sold off in a joint venture with Netflix or something like that, that does not sit well with me, but we'll see, man. Xbox Nation with the £2. Certain Affinity still doing Halo. Haven't heard much. I have no idea, mate. No idea what Certain Affinity's doing. I couldn't tell you on that one, but we'll see. We'll see, man. Jay Foley says, hello, with the last interview that Ball and Asha had, it seems like Helix plans are changing. Do you think Helix has time to change? And have you heard anything about plans changing? Also, when do you think Helix releases? So we already talked a little bit about what's going on with Helix and the plans changing or not. But when do we think Helix will release? I don't think Helix releases until 2028 at the earliest, I would expect now. I mean, the previous timeline was 2027, but that was before all the memory shit went crazy. I honestly don't know. 2028 would be my guess now, but it's just a guess. Next up, we've got Bilal. I hope you had a wonderful trip and had fun with everyone. My first question, we didn't really expect it to go this way. I mean, we did, but most of us thought the best case scenario would be one of our 2 games, maybe timed exclusive. And it looks like many more will follow as supply and their business proves. I mean, the energy they are giving is sort of back to basics with some modifications and iterations to also meet the future generation of players. But they are treating the console business sort of separate in its traditional way. How far do you see this going? Will they go full console exclusives for single player games in 2 years, or will it remain case by case? Ash's energy is 100% that she wants to compete, and I really see serious change coming with Helix. She also mentioned that radical changes are needed for the traditional console model, especially with how expensive consoles have become and how many people are being priced out. What do you think those radical changes could be? Particularly if they want to get the price down for Helix. I highly doubt Steam being that now at all, blah, 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 blah. My second question is, there are rumors going around, people said the Showcase, they tried hard to pull Halo and Fable off PlayStation, but couldn't for some reason. Is Halo going to be state play and pulled, and that's why the PS5 Pro League logo? What do you think about that? So we already talked a little bit about what we expect to see from Helix. As for the exclusives, um, like I said, I already talked about that too. 'Cause someone else asked it, but I don't think we'll ever see most games being exclusive. But you know, it really remains to be seen. Like we've had this whole curveball with my Xbox being spun off now. Just adds another layer of complexity to the equation. Absolutely crazy, man. Um, as for like the Halo thing, so yeah, I heard 2 or 3 days before the show that Halo was going to be in state of play. And then I asked around and did my own digging, and then I heard that it had been pulled from Sony state of play. So yeah, Halo was supposed to be in PlayStation state of play, which is a crazy, crazy choice, but that's what they chose to do. Um, uh, I don't know about Halo or Fable being fully pulled off PlayStation. I don't think they would have pulled Fable off PlayStation because that game. I know how expensive that game has been to put together, and you recruit some of your investment by you recoup your investment by putting it on as many platforms as possible. So that means putting it on PlayStation. So I don't think they would have pulled Fable off PlayStation personally. Um, as for Halo, I think they would have pulled Halo off PlayStation if it wasn't so close to the wire and if there wasn't some kind of retailer contractual thing going on. Um, maybe it just wasn't worth buying out of that contract. But maybe we'll never know, man. But I don't think the next Halo shows up on PlayStation. I think Halo 7, I think that is definitely fully exclusive. And in fact, if you guys watched an earlier show, I betted my beard that the next Halo would not be on PlayStation. So we'll see if I'm right or not. A guy named Jojo with the $20 US. Thank you so much. Cheers, Jez. I've asked this a few times and wonder why Xbox wouldn't drop Helix prior to GTA 5 at a niche price to drive the hype. Seems like a great marketing tool, then later the price drops. Thanks. I mean, the reason is simple. There's just like the hardware supply chain economy is just fucked right now. So like doing this kind of thing, like this sort of nimble movement on hardware is just not something that they're going to be able to do. Like I don't think like we haven't seen those green Xbox Series X consoles, the limited edition ones. I don't think they're going to be available anywhere except the United States. I certainly haven't seen them available anywhere but North America so far. And I think they'll be in vanishingly limited quantities, like, you know, maybe thousands of units, not even tens of thousands of units, maybe not even thousands of units. So I don't think rushing Helix out the door is something that's just viable in this current economy. But I don't know, man. Destin, hey, how's it going, man? I didn't really get to say hi at Summer Game Fest, but hi, Jez. Hi, Destin. How are you doing, buddy? I don't know if I even saw you at Summer Game Fest. Like, there was a bunch of people I saw at Summer Game Fest, like Jeff Grubb, and I was just too shy to go and say hello. So maybe I did see you, and I was just like, he's too cool for me, man. I'm too shy. But how's it going, man? Um, mm, so yeah, I suppose we'll see. Okay, next up, Baldy McNose says with the $5. Dude, you called it. Last podcast, you said that you had a thought that Microsoft would showcase Halo at State of Play. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can't remember. I can't remember if that was a guess or if I knew. I honestly can't remember. Like the last 2 weeks have been such a blur. Like I have no idea if I'm coming or going, man. No idea if we're coming or going. But maybe I did know at that point. But uh, it's Asha pulled it. I think Asha pulled it, man. She pulled it out. And I do think it was the right decision. Because, like, can you imagine, like, the whole narrative that Asha's been trying to create is that she's listening to fans, you know, and putting your Mario in the PlayStation show is the opposite of that, kind of. Um, so I don't know. Next up, we've got questions from Patreon from Goggles Lens. Question 1. So good stuff first. The showcase was great. It stumbled a little with Call of Duty at the end, but otherwise it was great. The games as a service stuff was short to have it go by so quickly, which was good. E-Day looked good, and I'm looking forward to it, even though I only played the first one. I personally prefer the 12-month thing because we will not have a problem with games being announced years ago, only now just coming out. Overall, it was great, and the emphasis on exclusives is important. People have been saying that they've been flip-floppy with Halo and Fable on PS5, but those games were already announced, so I did expect those to go over. 2 games that we questioned are Senua and Spyro because they were not announced, but both Hellblade and Spyro have their game history on PlayStation, so maybe that's why. It is glad to see Xbox actually know how exclusives work and not have your platform plummet. The one thing they should have changed is the Fable and State of Decay deep dive videos should have been told they were coming at the showcase. I know they can't have it like Gears direct right after the show, but if you're going to release a video of a deep dive just a few days after, then you should have just shouted out in the showcase yourself. What do you guys think? Yeah, I do think that was a bit strange. Like, personally, I mean, I think they should have just made the show a bit longer. You know, like put a like a 5-minute Fable trailer in there, and then say check out the rest of this deep dive on YouTube tomorrow or something. I don't know why they didn't do that. Like, State of Decay and Fable are both coming out, you know, within view. So I don't know why they didn't do that. But I was told this show was pretty baked in, and there was not a huge amount of changes they made, except for, like, obviously, you know, Halo being pulled out and that kind of thing. But I don't know. And question 2 now for the bad stuff. This is a long one, so I'm just gonna get to the meat of it. If you forgive me, Goggles Lens. I'm glad they just straight up released the memo out to everyone, because if it leaked or they knew it would leak, at least they outright sent it to us. With this 3% accountability margin, it's almost neglectful not to make changes to what you were doing, to not have one slip and you are screwed. If there has to be layoffs, which there probably does, even if we don't want to hear it, the type of layoffs that is just laying off people off and not shutting down studios is preferable. Even though that sounds like a heartless thing to say, if you shut down a studio that is branding, it's a fan base around the studio that is completely gone if you cut it. As you both know, I am worried about Double Fine. Any studio that is working on a game that has not yet been announced is in a weaker state than ones who have had games announced. Keeper and Kiln were the only games that are making in this amount of time that it would make sense that they are on the chopping block. But both of those games are smaller games as they are working on something bigger. Also, they left Keeper out to die because they put 2 of the games right on top of it like idiots. I do think Double Fine should probably had something bigger out by now, since Psychonauts 2 was 5 years ago. Was it 5 years ago? Jeez. Passage of time is just an abstract concept to me now. With how small Double Fine are, which also means that could not be that expensive to run, San Francisco based, you can't really cut some staff like other big studios. I think a way of lowering the running costs of Double Fine would be to close the office where they're located in San Francisco, which is an expensive place, and have everyone go remote, like what happened with Toys for Bob before they went independent. Do Double Fine already hybrid as their last documentary video? After COVID, they were doing hybrid, or maybe Double Fine could go independent. Maybe that could work, so on and so forth. What would be a safe thing for Double Fine to look to do financially? It's really tough. Like, I think a studio like Double Fine probably works best as independent, funded directly by its fans. I think, like, they did Kickstarters before, right? I think wasn't Psychonauts 2 itself kickstarted? And I also think, like, didn't they kickstart Massive Chalice as well? If I'm remembering correctly. So maybe like they can work out a deal where Double Fine buys itself back. Maybe like the staff that are there presently, maybe they can have equity in the new entity if they do go independent again. They just unionized too, which is, interesting, but I don't know. Um, I don't know what would be better for them financially, but like you, I would hope that Double Fine survives all this somehow. Either as part of Xbox, because I want to see Double Fine's next game. Like I've heard they're working on something much bigger and much more ambitious than Keeper and Kiln. But at the same time, it's like they just they they just haven't brought much to the table for Xbox, unfortunately, despite being like a comparatively expensive studio in San Francisco. I think if they were based in like Poland or something, things would be different. But I couldn't believe it when like Bloober Team came out and said like Chronos: A New Dawn. I think they said it cost like 25 million euros or something. Like you could not develop a game like that for 25 million euros in San Francisco. It's just no universe where you can do that. Um, but yeah, I hope Double Fine pull through. I got a little nostalgia for Double Fine. Like Brutal Legends is such a great game. I would have loved to have seen a new Brutal Legend. Do EA own the rights to that? Hmm, I don't know. I don't know, man. Army Tony says, Jez, please make this a 7-hour podcast so I can listen while working this evening. Thanks, brother. I mean, we'll go long, man. We've still got a lot of questions to get through. X Viper with the $5 US. Thank you very much. Skyrim turns 15 this year. Fallout 4 turns 11. Is it just me that the silence out of Bethesda Game Studios is deafening at this point, or does it just work? Um, man, it is frustrating, but like, didn't Matt Booty say in an interview that Elder Scrolls 6 is like shaping up really nicely or something recently? I suppose he would say that, right? But um, uh, yeah, I don't know. I would love to see just a glimpse of Elder Scrolls 6, man. I have no idea. I have no idea how they can resist showing us just a taste, just a little taste. They must be so desperate to show something for that game, man. But I don't know, we'll see, man. Um mm, Goggles Lens also says is Xbox making a Spyro game so they are not opposed to smaller 3D platformer type games, or is that just the IP of Spyro doing the heavy lifting? I do remember when Microsoft was buying ABK, like Phil used to talk about Skylanders a lot. And like I said earlier, like the Gen Z cohort right now, they grew up with Skylanders toys, like the people in their 20s and stuff. So like I do think maybe there's some potential there with Skylanders and Spyro. And certainly like Spyro does seem to have gone viral pretty hard with this with people of a very specific age, like the sort of people in their early 20s, right? Like I was slightly too old for Spyro, I think. Um, but people who are like in their 20s grew up playing that shit, you know. So like for them, like Spyro was maybe their Mario, in some ways. Maybe people in their late 20s want to play it with their kids and stuff. But I do think Spyro's doing some heavy lifting there. Um, I certainly think Spyro's got more legs than Banjo, and not just actually having more legs because he's a dragon and quadrupedal. Um, I suppose Banjo's a bear, right? But Banjo walks on hind legs, so does that count? Is there any biologists in the chat? No, it wouldn't be biologist. Or would it be biologist? Zoologist, I suppose. Are there any zoologists in the chat? What am I even talking about? What are we even doing here, guys? What's even going on? I don't even know anymore. DM O'Keefe says, "Hey guys, first question. If it hasn't already been asked, you can skip my question if it comes to exclusives. Seems like everyone has their own interpretation of what comes next. I've seen some say it's only these two games. Some said one exclusive game a year, and some group believes it'd be most games exclusive. What do you think it'll be?" Yeah, I think it'll. I think at most it'll be like one a year. But we have yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, man. God Emperor Sofa King with the $2 says information source for their article is Reset Era. Nah, I think they have got some good sourcing on this. So do not be shocked if we see some like huge, scary restructuring for Xbox coming up. Yeah, don't be surprised about that. Second from DM O'Keefe. In your article today, you mentioned that they want to focus on in-house engines. They have a long list of engines: id Tech, Forza Tech, OW9, Creation 2, etc. However, the problem they've faced, mainly Hello Studios, is contracts working with these engines and having to leave before they truly make progress on the game. My question is, will the engines they make actually help them or harm them? I mean, that's a good point, right? One of the issues they had with Halo Infinite was that contractors had to learn how to use the slip space engine, and because it wasn't like an industry standard engine. But you know, we have seen Capcom have a lot of success with their own engine, but also Japan is kind of built diff, right? Um, I think like if they do have a standardized internal engine, they would have to go with one of them. I would hope that it would be Forza Tech, I suppose. And you keep Turn 10 as like the stewards of Forza Tech as an engine. Maybe get the Coalition to work on it as well, like the Coalition's tooling and stuff. But I do think like Unreal Engine is, you know, it serves their purposes well, and potentially like with the contractor economy does help keep costs down. But I do wonder, like, when Asha was talking about vendor costs, is she talking about Unreal Engine? Be interesting to find out. It would be. Um, but yeah, it's a good discussion. I suppose I'd have to learn more about the economics of like how much are they paying for an Unreal Engine, how much of a downside is it to use your own engine, proprietary stuff, and all that kind of thing. Um, hmm, we'll have to find out. Next up, we got Sick and Tired. Hi, men. Hope you are both good. With Microsoft reversing push towards multi-platform and seeing the position Xbox is in, really shines a light on just how out of touch Phil became towards the end. Everyone said that putting games on PlayStation would kill the console, as it's about as obvious as something could be. And history has shown that to be true. Now Microsoft is desperately trying to reverse course and recover the console's decline. How do you think history is going to judge Phil at the end of his time? Microsoft definitely setting up to be the fall guy of Xbox's woes. How do you judge him in his shift to multi-platform and that everything is an Xbox? Push. For me, it would go down as the guy who saved Xbox, only to destroy it a few years later. I think history will probably be unkind to Phil, but like I say, I think it's unfair. I think Xbox saved the brand. I think um, there was a lot of. I think Phil saved the brand, sorry. And I think there was like, he was navigating a lot of internal corporate politics, um, and perhaps idealism. I think Phil wanted an industry where there was no barriers, where like people could play with anyone on other platforms. And I think you have to remember, Phil is the reason why cross-play is now a prevalent thing in the industry. Phil ramroded that through, you know. So we have Xbox to thank for that, you know, and it's something we now take for granted. Um, so for me, like I will always defend Phil, and I don't care if like I get hate for it and shit, because honestly, I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think I don't think it's Phil's fault necessarily that things went so multi-platform. I don't think it's Phil's fault necessarily that, you know, things ended up like this. I think there are numerous external factors at play here, like the addictive algorithms, like, you know, the underinvestment. Like Phil had to navigate Xbox through the Terry Myerson era, you know, and Phil had to navigate Xbox through, you know, Satya Nadella and all this kind of stuff. Um, I think if there's one if there is one thing you could say negatively about Phil, is that he was probably too nice, you know. And I think it's a rare thing in this fucking system we have, you know, that Phil had this idealistic position on the industry potentially. Um, but no, I think people are too overly critical of Phil, and I'll always have that position. Was Phil perfect? No. Like the This Is an Xbox campaign was just terrible. And I think Phil hasn't always handled um some of the internal relationships that well. Um, People felt burned by Phil. Um, but also stewarding a huge operation like Xbox within an even bigger operation like Microsoft, like it's gonna come with a lot of tensions. So I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, man. Analog AI with the Norwegian Krona 20 says yesterday's ESO 6 teaser 8-year-old happy birthday. Not sure what you mean there. Um, is the Elder Scrolls teaser is 8 years old now? Is that what you're saying? That's crazy if that's true. Oh man. Um, yeah. Double Mobile with the $2 says, do you think Helix will remain a hybrid console? Yes, I do. I think they've purchased those chips and it's locked in, but we'll see what things look like after that, right? It's it's all in flux now, man. It's all in flux. All in flux. Um Next up we got Shay Elephant. Happy Friday, JEZ. How much do you think the translucent Xbox Series X is gonna cost? What was your biggest game surprise during your time in LA? My biggest game surprise was probably Hellraiser. Clive Barker's Hellraiser from Saber Interactive. Hellraiser is gonna really upset people. I'm looking forward to these articles about Hellraiser. I think there's gonna be some negative blowback on Hellraiser. That game is it's on another level of violent and controversial. It's like they've leaned into every controversy possible, much like the movies did, I suppose. Um, but it's that was in the 80s. I'm curious to see how Hellraiser is received in the year 2026. Um, but yeah, I quite enjoyed Hellraiser, like the gameplay, like it kind of they do tell me like it's a shooter through and through, but it felt a little bit like playing Resident Evil Village to me. There's I was I played a very brief slice of it. Um, I can't talk too much about it because I think I'm still under embargo for it. But I am interested to see what people think of Hellraiser. So definitely check out my preview of Hellraiser in the coming days. Um uh but what else? Biggest game surprise. Um mm, Actually, here's one. Control Resonant. I'm not a big Control guy. But I did play Control Resonant at Summer Game Fest. And I think the embargo's expired for this one, so I can talk a little bit more about it. But I did play Control Resonant, and I wasn't expecting much from it. I didn't like the first Control that much, but I was actually very impressed with the way it played. Remedy's obviously never played a hack and slash from Remedy before. I don't think they've made in that genre before, but it felt good to play. the whole premise was quite interesting, and you know, I'm actually quite interested in it. And in fact, I've actually gone back and started playing Control again to try and get some more of the lore and get some more context. And I've actually gotten further through it than I've ever gotten through before. Now I'm sort of like interested in Control Resonant. So I think Control Resonant might have been my overall most surprised, because I had no expectations for that whatsoever. Mr. Irishman with the £5. Have you personally heard anything about Microsoft spinning off Xbox, and do you think it'd be a positive or negative thing? So I'll put it this way. Usually when I check on these things, someone will say to me like, this is fake, right? But my sources basically like declined to say that it was fake. The information generally has really good sourcing, I think. So I'm inclined to believe it's true right now. So I think that they probably are exploring spin-off of Xbox. Now, whether that means spinning it off as a subsidiary like PlayStation is under Sony, or spinning it off completely to sell it off to, like, I don't know, sovereign wealth fund, or merging it with Netflix or something else like that. I don't know. I would hope that it's going to be more like PlayStation's model, or LinkedIn's model, or GitHub's model. LinkedIn is a subsidiary under Microsoft. I think that would be good for Xbox if it was a subsidiary under Microsoft like LinkedIn, but I don't know the details yet. I'm not even sure Microsoft knows the details yet, but it definitely seems like they are definitely considering it, I would suggest. The fact that nobody at Microsoft's come out and denied it, to me, says everything you need to know. As far as I'm aware, no one at Microsoft's denied it. At least I'm just going to quickly check Twitter. I don't think anyone's denied it, and that probably says everything you need to know. I think they would have I think they would have moved against that rumor if it wasn't true, man. I think they would have done, but we'll find out before the end of the fiscal, I think. So, next up, we've got a question from Omen. Hey, Jez, do you think the next Xbox ROG is going to be an ARM device? ARM support for gaming is looking pretty good with the new NVIDIA ARM chips. I do think Microsoft's going to explore ARM, but maybe not until the business is in a healthier spot. I think with regards to chips, they're probably only thinking about AMD right now. So I do see ARM in Xbox's future, but not in the short term. It would be my guess. Nitram, hi Random Jets. From all the events last week, which free games shown are you most excited for? Man, that's a good question. I would have, I mean, State of Decay 3. I mean, these are kind of games that we knew about, so maybe it's cheating, but State of Decay 3, Gears E-Day, for me, definitely the first two. We're also probably Clockwork Revolution. Like, I love In Exile, and Clockwork Revolution looks absolutely fantastic. It looks exactly like the kind of game I want to play. But there's also other games I'm really excited for, like Onimusha. Like, I played a press demo of that. Hellraiser, played a press demo of that. My preview's coming next week. Control Resonant, that was also very good. You know, I also played Minecraft Dungeons too, and that was also very good. And I wasn't expecting much from that because it's, you know, I was kind of like, I played Minecraft Dungeons 1. It's like, I was kind of thinking, like, what more can you do there, really? But I actually did really enjoy Minecraft Dungeons 2, you know, so we're eating good, man. There's just tons of good stuff to play. Tons of stuff to looking forward to. Let me know in chat and in the comments what games you were most excited for from Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase season. I want to know what you guys think. Analog AI says Blood of the Dawnwalker. Yeah, that was another one. Blood of the Dawnwalker was another game I'm pretty interested in. I really want to, like, The Witcher 3 DLC. Like, I'm all over that shit, man. Desperate to get some of that. Ocarina of Time remake, says Gamer Guy J. But the Magician Game, Virtua Fighter Crossroads, Ace Combat 8. Yeah, man, there's tons of cool stuff. Tons of cool stuff. Um, but yeah. Now we've got Chris M. Evening, guys. Only one question for you both. Coming off the recent Cyberpunk collab that has canon elements for both IPs, in so much that it's really just a dream for Lucy, but one that seems to help her cope with David's loss. What collab would you like to see in this vein? Random characters in games is fun, like Tifa in Street Fighter. We're talking about collabs that can legitimately tell actual stories based on the source material of both IPs. They seem rare, so what would your dream match be? Have a great one, guys. That's a really interesting question. So I presume you're talking about what game is it now? Like one of the gacha games has a collaboration with Cyberpunk. And they're framing it that Lucy from Cyberpunk Edge Runners is dreaming. Is it Where Winds Meet, I think? Or is it Wuthering Waves? I think it's Wuthering Waves, right? So that's a really interesting concept. So a collaboration where it's like where it actually makes kind of sense. I'd have to really think about that, actually. I mean, it's a good question, right? A collaboration where it kind of makes sense. Well, one of the things I've always like kind of wondered is you know, does Diablo and Warcraft take place in the same universe? You know, because I mean they could at a stretch maybe take place in the same universe. I mean, you've got a lot of the aspects of WoW and Diablo cross over, and I think it's just a result of them making two fantasy games on top of each other. You know, but I think Diablo and Warcraft fans would freak out if they did that. Freak out in a bad way, possibly. But man, it's quite interesting. I wonder if there are like some sci-fi games that could cross over with Overwatch, maybe. Um, you know, it's an interesting topic, but I don't know. I really don't know, man. I don't know. Lord Hendry in chat says Helldivers and Doom. I mean, that could be a good one. I mean, an obvious one there is like Helldivers and Halo. You know, um, that could be an interesting one. Um, I suppose it's like it's kind of easy with space because you could just say they exist on another part of in another part of space. Like, could you go and land on the Gears of War planet in Starfield, for example? I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I'd have to like really sit there and think about that. Um, Logan Meyer. Hey guys, been jam-packed a couple of weeks. Two questions. Have you all heard anything concrete regarding Xbox having a 25th anniversary event? Two, seems like under-resourced developed IPs would refer to Halo, Fallout, and stuff like that, bro. Cheers. So, I haven't heard anything concrete about the 25th anniversary specifically. Microsoft did announce that they've got a bunch of Xbox Fan Fest meetings led by Major Nelson, I think. Major Nelson's going to be hosting those globally, so that's amazing. But yeah, under-resourced developed IPs are definitely Halo and Fallout, but there's other stuff too, like Diablo potentially, you know, Overwatch. Like these are things that could have more spin-offs and could have TV shows. But yeah, I think definitely Halo and Fallout are absolutely up there. StarCraft as well. I mean, StarCraft has absolutely massive potential. It's why they're investing so much in Blizzard right now, right? But I do think like they might even be talking about honestly Candy Crush, because like I say, Candy Crush has seen a lot of competition from similar games. I do think there is some perception that Candy Crush has been underinvested in. I know it's a simple game with candy and shit, but Candy Crush has competition too. And like I say, Candy Crush at one time was an absolutely huge driver of revenue. So maybe they're talking about Candy Crush too, like something we never think about too much on this show, but the mobile games are important too, right? Sharky, um, Sharky says, "Hi both. This could be the first ever 5-hour podcast with the amount of stuff to discuss. Not this time, but maybe on Monday. $500 million revenue decrease is huge until you consider that 5 years ago, the console was new and selling out. What are the factors behind the decrease? Let's say gameplay hours are an all-time high, so something doesn't quite add up. I think gameplay hours... Now, this is something else that I was talking about in my article. Oh, actually, no, I haven't released this article yet. So I have an article coming out this weekend about the rise of active users who aren't monetizing. And that's a big issue for Xbox right now. And also companies like Candy Crush, like Fortnite, gamers who just play the game forever and don't spend any money. So if you are, for example, if you are like Minecraft, for example, you bought Minecraft, like if you bought Minecraft for $20 5 years ago and you're still playing it for the free updates, you never spend any money on Minecoins or anything like that. That's a huge problem for Microsoft, right? And if you are selling your console at like a loss of $200 or more, and all you do is use that console for Fortnite and you never buy a skin, or worse, you buy skins, but you buy them on another platform, and Microsoft never sees a penny of that money, that's also a huge problem. So gameplay hours being up is a problem if those users aren't spending any money, because you are effectively spending money to run the servers, to sell the hardware. Could you lose money selling the hardware? If the gameplay is up but the spend is down, that's a huge problem. So that's basically what it is. Like, game players by themselves don't monetize. Game players by themselves, for a lot of games, simply cost money. Like, if you're like a Destiny, for example, like Destiny's business model has a lot of issues and has a lot of scrutiny right now. Like Destiny, like it runs like this hybridized cloud model. So it's like, it's not completely dedicated servers, but there are dedicated servers running Destiny, right? You have to pay customer support agents, you've got your developers, you have to pay all that kind of stuff. If someone's like actively playing Destiny and like burning server juice and all that kind of stuff with no subscription attached, but they're not spending money, then that's an issue. Like this is why like business models like World of Warcraft work really well, is because they're subscription based. So you've always got a guaranteed amount of income for World of Warcraft. You know how much you're getting in, so you know how much to spend back out, right? You know exactly how much to spend. That's why like World of Warcraft has been such a sustainable business model, because they know exactly how much money they're getting in every month. And then like they also add like the whales on top of that, right? So like you can put like $100 amounts on top of that subscription, but they've always got a baseline. But if you're a free to play game, you have no fucking baseline, because like I say, consumer confidence down. Maybe even your whales stop spending money, or maybe they've got all the skins they want. Maybe you've literally run out of IP to make skins out of, you know, which is why they're thinking more and more about ads in games. Because if you can't monetize those users because they've got the skins they want, or they don't want to spend money on any more skins, one of the only ways you can still monetize them is to put ads in the loading screen, right? And I think that's why like ads are increasingly becoming prevalent in the conversation, because how do you monetize people who don't want to monetize anymore? So that's one of the issues. It's not the only issue, but it's one of the issues. Maybe they should reverse no Game Pass required for free-to-play games. If they can't monetize Fortnite players, they are screwed. Yeah, I should have read that part of your question. That's basically what I was talking about. So, like, they took away Xbox Live Gold for Fortnite and so on, and you end up in a situation where you've got a box that cost you $200 to sell, and the users aren't monetizing. And back in the day, the whales subsidized those hyper casual audiences, but increasingly we're getting to a point where they're not. You know, either they've got the skins they want, or there's no skins they want to buy, or even the whales don't want to spend the money anymore, right? And so free to play, like the business model starts to collapse where there's no monetization layer, which is why mobile games have adverts in them. But it's a controversial topic for console gaming right now. When something's when you're getting something for free, like the money has to come from somewhere. If the money's not coming from whales anymore, then they're gonna have to look at ads and shit like that, man. I don't know. See Woody with the $4. Do you think Xbox drops Series S mandatory support? Feels like that could be what's holding back Stellar Blade. Might be the time. I don't think they'll drop Series S support because people have bought Series S under the promise that they'll get all the Xbox games. So it could be what's holding back Stellar Blade. Like, if you've made your game under the assumption of 16 gigabytes of RAM, it's really hard to then take away that RAM and like work through it backwards. Like we saw that with Baldur's Gate and other games. So, but I don't think they'll drop the Series S mandatory support. I think that would be real shame for people who've bought that system. LeBurn98 with $5 Canadian says something I don't think has been bought. Is this whole Xbox spin-off narrative pre or post Asha Sharma? Thoughts? I mean, it's post Asha Sharma. I think it's a very recent thing, and I think Matt Ball, like when you look at like some of the things Matthew Ball was saying, like we need to look at new business models, shit like that. I absolutely think this is what they're thinking about. I wouldn't be surprised if Matthew Ball was brought on with the knowledge that this is something they're looking at, you know? So, yeah. I right now, I believe it. I fully believe it right now. So, we will see what materializes out of all this shit. I think we'll find out sooner rather than later what's going to happen. So yeah, Deku2511 says, "Hi guys, hope you both enjoyed the summer showcase. What's one game that really surprised you?" I think like I already mentioned like Onimusha and Hellraiser and Control Resonant, but also that Magician game people keeps bringing up. I think that looks that really surprised me. I think more than anything, it looked really cool. So I'm interested to see more about that game. Deku says, "How do you both feel on the future of Xbox on a scale of 1 to 10?" So you posted this question a day ago. Like if you posted this, if we did the podcast yesterday, I would have said I'm feeling good, like at an 8 or a 9. But now all this spin-off rumor stuff, like now I'm just feeling like a 5, you know. I'm just kind of like, if they spin off Xbox as a completely separate company, I think that's an insane decision. I think that hurts Microsoft. Who cares, right? If it hurts Microsoft. But I also think like the detangling from Microsoft does severe amount of damage to Xbox. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, who benefits from this really? Like, who owns the stock? Who owns the bits and pieces of the new entity? Like someone's got to buy Xbox for it to be spun off as a separate entity. Who buys it? And could it end up in the arms of a Netflix, or like what's the new company look like? Like we could be like out of the frying pan into the fire. So for me, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. If they do something insane, like spin it off completely into a separate entity, like or merge it with some other shitty company, like I think things will get worse. But if it becomes a subsidiary like LinkedIn, then I think things will get better. But I don't know. I'm uncertain, man. I'm uncertain right now. Like Vixilus says in chat, you can be a separate entity and still be owned by Microsoft wholly, like GitHub. Yeah, like GitHub on LinkedIn. I think that is hopefully where we end up. But if it ends up at underneath some other company, I think it'd be shit, man. I hope that doesn't happen. Stu says, "Congratulations on leaving Amish Sanctuary, Jez. Your mustache is back." Yeah, I mean, like before I went to the Xbox Showcase, I was like, I was grow, damn it, grow. But it didn't matter because I was still really overweight, so it didn't matter if I looked good or not. Apparently, um, uh, Data Emotion says merge it with Valve, and that settles both companies' problems. I mean, could you imagine if Gabe Newell bought Xbox? How would you feel about that? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? If Valve bought Xbox, I don't know, man. That'd be crazy. Um, but who knows, man? Crazy things have happened. Like Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. Congratulations to Elon Musk. Is everyone happy for Elon Musk? He's now a trillionaire, at least for a couple of weeks. Um, Now we've got last few questions here before we get on out of here. If you've been enjoying the show, please drop a like and all that, subscribe and all that good stuff. I really appreciate you guys sticking by and with all the super chats and stuff. It's I often worry about like where my career is gonna go, where this industry is gonna go, but like the way you guys show up and support me and stuff, like it's such a source of comfort for me. So I don't fucking know what's gonna happen in my own business, my own industry. Artificial intelligence has just devastated everything. It really, really sucks. Why can't everything just be normal and easy? What is it all what is everything what does it feel like since the pandemic? Everything's just been restless chaos. Since Harambe died, man. Since Harambe died. So, C. Woody says, my first question is, what happened to the plan to add stuff like Fallout First in Game Pass? Is that still on the table? I thought the showcase would have been the perfect place to announce it. If not, then when? So, I think like any plans with regard to Game Pass has been like up in the air since Asha came on board and started looking at the books. I don't think we see major changes like that until maybe later on, but like Asha was saying that she wants it to be more modular. So one of the things I was thinking, like, what if there was a $30 Game Pass tier which let you add a benefit like Call of Duty optionally? You can either add Call of Duty for $30, you can add World of Warcraft for $30, you can add Fallout First for $30, Minecraft Realms for $30, or two of those benefits, something like that. I do think that's probably where we'll end up, but there's work that's got to happen before we get there. My second question is, Jez, did you hear anything about how the next OS is coming along? People feeling good about it, or if they have quick resume working on it? I know it's technically supposed to be Windows, so I guess my question about features they're already planning to Windows update. I haven't heard anything about what the next operating system looks like. The last thing I heard was obviously that it's being built on Windows, and there's a lot of work being done to get Windows to a better level for gaming. But like all this stuff with like Asha and spinning off Xbox and all the rest of it, it's just like, man, there's just like you just don't know. Like plans are changing so quickly now. Like it's so funny. Like someone in Blue Sky was bitching at me this morning because they were like, "Jez, you said this was happening 6 months ago," and I'm just like, and it's not happening. And I'm like, bro, what changed between then and now? Like we've had a whole leadership change at Xbox, and they're upending the entire strategy. So it's like, what do you expect? I don't have a crystal ball. I didn't know they were gonna. I didn't know they were gonna fucking do all that shit. Um, so like I think a lot of things right now are in complete flux. So yeah, I don't know, man. We'll just have to wait and see together what the new operating system ends up looking like. Yeah, Cage of Cunning Linguist, Blue Sky. Yeah, Blue Sky is so bad. It's so bad. Every time I log on there to post my links sometime, but it's just like it's so bad. Um, yeah, I only log on there to post links really and talk to a couple of cool people that are on there, but yeah, it's not very good. um Paul Ply says, Jez, do you think the next Xbox financial will improve from the last one? Mm, maybe not. I mean, I suppose like they're gonna have a boost from Forza. Forza did really well. Um, but I think really the fiscals right now they hinge so much on Candy Crush and Call of Duty. So it really depends if Call of Modern Warfare 4. It really depends on Modern Warfare 4 right now. I think. Um, so I'm not expecting the. I'm expecting the results to be in line with whatever they've advised. Microsoft's usually pretty good at um, nailing what they've advised shareholders with regards to Xbox. So yeah, I don't know. I Mike Zero says, "Hey Ran and Jez, I thought this post said double penetration Q&A thread at first. Phrasing. Well, that's not phrasing. That's just straight up, man. Oh man, it's Paris in the chat. Jez, was great to see you this weekend. Yeah, man. Really cool to see you, Paris. You're a real one, dude. I'm gonna make you a mod. I'm gonna make Paris a moderator of this channel. So thanks for dropping by, dude. I really appreciate it. So yeah, so iMike Zero says, I have two very simple questions for both of you. Do you believe there was a specific genre that was underrepresented at the shows? For me, I believe it was fighting games this year. I mean, I would have said real-time strategy or strategy games in general were underrepresented, but Total War 40K looks so good. So maybe it wasn't underrepresented. I suppose we had didn't we have a Virtua Fighter? But like fighting games has become such a niche thing. So do I think any games are underrepresented? We had a lot of action adventure. There was some shooters. There was some Souls likes. Um, we even had a Metroidvania. That Castlevania Metroidvania game looks good. Um, yeah, Samuel Talbot. Shout out to Samuel. Star Wars Zero Company as well. Like Star Wars Zero Company looks fantastic. That's like an XCOM star kind of game. Um, I suppose the fighting games, yeah, really. Maybe fighting games was yeah, Age of Empires 4 got an expansion announced too. But like there was some announcements for Street Fighter, but I do feel like fighting games have become kind of, I suppose, niche. I suppose. Hmm. So, I Mike Zero also says, Jez, outside of the shows, what was the best thing you experienced in America during this trip? Was it air conditioning? Are we turning 250 this year and need some compliments? So I think the best thing I experience whenever I travel to America is meeting friends, man. Like there's so many like amazing friends that I've got in that all meet up in LA now. So like, and also just anyone who came and said hi, like it's really crazy to me that like I'm recognized and people like my stuff and they come up and say hi and that people want selfies and stuff like that, even though I look like this, you know. So it's like, do you want me to crack your camera? But yeah. So honestly, like the people, man, the people, it was just amazing. It's always amazing going to these shows and just meeting all the cool people, man. But like, not counting that, uh shout out to Drea. I went to Texas barbecue and had like amazing brisket and pulled pork. I never had barbecue before, so that was pretty damn amazing. The food, man. America just, out of every country on earth, like America just kills everyone at food. Like if I was in America, I would be 800 pounds. I'm telling you right now. If I lived in America, I would be 800 pounds, man. Like fucking America just kills everyone else at food. It's not healthy, but it's good for the soul, I suppose, is what you'd say. America's just the best food, man. The best damn food, man. Um, Claw117 says, it's funny watching this while also listening to Mr. Matty Plays. Read your article, Jeff. Oh, man. Shout out to Mr. Matty Plays. He's awesome, man. Mr. Supernova with the $2 says, day one Game Pass cancellation seems inevitable. Let's fucking go. I mean, maybe. I mean, we've You know, Matthew Ball has criticized the virtue of like having games day one in Game Pass, but at the same time, like they know how much revenue Game Pass drives, and like reducing desirability for Game Pass doesn't seem to be something they want to do right now. Like, why would you want to reduce desirability for Game Pass right now? Um, when you've just lowered the price. So I think it was a little bit Call of Duty. So I think what they might, like I said earlier, what I think they might do is they might add like an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Plus, which is more expensive, go back to $30. Optionally let you include Call of Duty, optionally let you include World of Warcraft, that kind of stuff. But we'll find out. We'll find out together, man. Um, yeah, we'll see. So finally, I think we're at the last question now. With Silas. I'm just going to refresh to make sure I didn't miss any. Last question from Silas. And if you guys want to add these kind of questions to every week, you can subscribe on Patreon. It's 50% off right now. So definitely check it out. Silas says, hello there. Number one, Jez, have you ever thought about going to see Rand in Chicago after one of your US trips? I'm sure Rand would let you stay in his guest cottage. You could do a podcast together, play games. Rand could read you a bedtime story. Yes, I have often thought about going to visit Rand in Chicago, and it's something I really want to do. It's just, you know, jet fuel is really expensive right now. But yeah, I will. I've already talked to Rand about it. You know, so I will get out to Chicago eventually and meet up with Rand for sure. And number two, Jez, do you think at some point Blizzard is either going to upgrade the WoW engine or put out WoW 2? I'd say the engine may be so old, it may be limiting their ambitions. I don't think we'll ever see a WoW 2. I think they'll keep going on this engine forever, you know, and keep just adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. I don't think they get rid of the World of Warcraft engine. World of Warcraft's engine is ironically, it's one of its biggest strengths, you know. And the thing is, like, the World of Warcraft engine doesn't preclude them having more higher resolution visuals. It doesn't stop them doing that. The reason they don't do it is because it's more expensive and it makes things slower. If you've got to make your game photorealistic, the content comes out slower and your retention goes down. So WoW's engine, like, even though I'm sure it's off-putting for some people because of the way it looks, it's actually the game's biggest damn strength, honestly. And honestly, one of the reasons why WoW crushes all other MMOs is because no other MMO feels as good to play as WoW. Like WoW, like World of Warcraft's netcode is so responsive. That engine is so responsive. If they move to like a more modern engine, I think you lose that. I think you lose some of that shit. Like all other MMOs feel sluggish compared to WoW, for whatever reason. So no, I think they stick with WoW's engine in perpetuity. But you know what I would like to see though from World of Warcraft, I would like to see Warcraft 4 on a better engine, a Warcraft hack and slash on a better engine. Like I think there are things they could do with the Warcraft IP, which you know would give you a vision of a Warcraft that looked more higher fidelity without having to disrupt the sort of the business model they've built up around World of Warcraft's engine, because World of Warcraft's engine is the business model. But that's a good question, Silas. I appreciate it. But yeah, guys, Mr. Supernova. We've got another chat from Mr. Supernova. Thank you so much. Subscriptions can't fund bonuses for creative directors like Todd Howard. Sales are the main metric. I mean, yes and no. I mean, one of the things about Game Pass is that Game Pass, the revenue from Game Pass does get charged back to the first party studio. So if a game like a Starfield, for example, gets so much engagement, they work out what the cannibalized sales are, and they charge the revenue Game Pass back to the studio. So I can't remember what they call it, but it's an equation, you know. They can work their incentive structure around Game Pass engagement, and they do. you know. So the problem is, it's just like when it's like a Call of Duty, which is a monstrously expensive operation to run, ongoing, with dedicated servers and the rest of it. It really just fucked the business model. But a thing like a Starfield or an Elder Scrolls, it's a little bit different. You know, your overheads aren't as high. There's no customer support for Starfield. So it's a bit different. It's not the same. But, you know, we'll see what happens. You might be right. Maybe they get rid of the day one games on Game Pass. But I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Personally. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We'll find out together. Probably by the end of this month. So, guys, I think that's going to be the show. Thank you all so much for checking me out, checking us out. Maybe me and Rand do a show on Monday where we talk a little bit more. I won't be surprised if more of this news about Xbox spinning off or becoming a subsidiary emerges over the weekend. Check out our sponsor, Surfshark VPN, for 86% off a 2-year plan. Works out to about $2 a month. Check us out on patreon.com/XB2. You get like extra shows. You also get my newsletter, which has some secret info in sometimes before I post it on Windows Central, and you know, sometimes stuff that's too spicy for Windows Central, if you know what I mean. And also, you know, the Xbox 2+1 shows, which we should have another one next week for Xbox 2+1, and also the Q&A threads, which I just spent the last hour reading out. So thanks so much for checking that out. 50% off on Patreon right now. Links in the description. And also, you go ad-free on Spotify if you don't want the ads. You can also get ad-free podcast audio. But yeah, it's going to be the show. Thanks to everyone who super chatted. Thanks to everyone who didn't super chat. Everyone who just said hi and checked out. Thanks to everyone who's been supportive over the last week of craziness with the whole Jeff Keighley tweet and that kind of thing. Oh man, what a fun tweet that was to wake up to. But yeah, it's just amazing to be able to do this. And I will keep doing this. I'll keep pushing for Xbox fans, the Xbox community, and trying to bring you guys the most up-to-date information that I can. And I will see you all next week. Keep it gaming, guys. Peace out.